Jnana-timirandasya Gyanam-gyana Salakaya Sakshur-militam Yena Tasmai Śrī-gurave Namaha Namo-Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Nande Gaura-tuse Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa-sindubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Reading from Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta Madhya-līlā chapter 9, Lord Chaitanya's travels to the holy places. By Śrīla Kṛṣṇadāsa Kavirāja Gosvāmī Maharaj ki jai. Om Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Swāmī Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Gurudev. Text 46. When the non-believers heard of the erudition of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they came to him with great pride, bringing their disciples with them. One of them was the leader of a Buddhist cult and was a very learned scholar. To establish them 9 philosophical conclusions, he came before the Lord and began to speak. Although the Buddhists are unfit for discussion and should not be seen by Vaishnavas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke to them just to decrease their false pride. The scriptures of the Buddhist cult are chiefly based on argument and logic, and they contain 9 chief principles. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeated them in their argument, they could not establish their cult. The teacher of the Buddhist cult set forth 9 principles, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu broke them to pieces with his strong logic. All mental speculators and learned scholars were defeated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when the people began to laugh, the Buddhist philosophers felt both shame and fear. Purport. These philosophers were all atheists, for they did not believe in the existence of God. Atheists may be very expert in mental speculation and may be so-called great philosophers, but they can be defeated by a Vaishnava firmly situated in his conviction and God consciousness. Following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the preachers engaged in the service should be very expert in putting forward strong arguments and defeating all types of atheists. The Buddhists could understand that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a Vaishnava, and they returned home very unhappy. Later, however, they began to plot against the Lord. Having made their plot, the Buddhists brought a plate of untouchable food before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and called it Mahaprasadam. When the contaminated food was offered to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a very large bird appeared on the spot, picked up the plate in his beak and flew away. Indeed, the untouchable food fell upon the Buddhists, and the large bird dropped the plate on the head of the chief Buddhist teacher. When it fell on his head, it made a big sound. The plate was made of metal, and when it hit the head of the teacher, it cut him, and the teacher immediately fell to the ground, unconscious. When the teacher fell unconscious, his Buddhist disciples cried aloud and ran to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for shelter. They all prayed to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, addressing him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, and saying, "Sir, please excuse our offense. Please have mercy upon us and bring our spiritual master back to life." The Lord then replied to the Buddhist disciples, "You should all chant the names of Krishna and Hari very loudly near the ear of your spiritual master. By this method, your spiritual master will regain his consciousness." Following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advice, all the Buddha's disciples began to chant the holy name of Krishna congregationally. When all the disciples chanted the holy names Krishna, Rama and Hari, the Buddhist teacher regained consciousness and immediately began to chant the holy name of Lord Hari. Purport. Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that all the Buddhist disciples were actually initiated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to chant the holy name of Krishna, and when they chanted, they actually became different persons. At that time, they were not Buddhists or atheists, but Vaishnavas. Consequently, they immediately accepted Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order. Their original Krishna consciousness was revived, and they were immediately able to chant Hare Krishna and begin worshipping the Supreme Lord Vishnu. When the spiritual master of the Buddhists began to chant the holy name of Krishna and submitted to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the people who were gathered there were astonished. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Sachi-Devi, then suddenly and strangely disappeared from everyone's sight, and it was impossible for anyone to find him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived at Tirupati and Trimala, where he saw a four-handed deity. Then he next proceeded towards Vyankata Hill. After arriving at Tripati, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the temple of Lord Ramachandra. He offered his prayers and obeisances before Ramachandra, the descendant of King Raghu. Everywhere Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went, his influence astonished everyone. He next arrived at the temple of Pananishinga. The Lord is so merciful. In great ecstatic love, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered obeisances and prayers unto Lord Nishinga. The people were astonished to see Lord Chaitanya's influence. Arriving at Shivakanchi, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the deity of Lord Shiva. By his influence, he converted all the devotees of Lord Shiva into Vaishnavas. The Lord then visited a holy place known as Vishnu Kanchi. He saw there Lakshmi Narayan deities, and he offered his respects and many prayers to please them. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed at Vishnu Kanchi for 2 days, he danced and performed kirtan in ecstasy. When all the people saw him, they were converted into devotees of Lord Krishna. After visiting Trimulaya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to see Trikalahasti. It was there that he saw Lord Shiva and offered him all respect and obeisances. At Pakshi Tirtha, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the temple of Lord Shiva. Then he went to the Vridaloka place of pilgrimage. At Vridakola, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited the temple of Svetavaraha, the white boar. After offering him respects, the Lord visited the temple of Lord Shiva, wherein the deity is dressed with yellow garments. After visiting the temple of Shijali Pairavi, another name of the goddess Durga, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Mother Sachi, went to the bank of the river Kaveri. The Lord then visited a place known as Gosvāmī, where he saw Lord Shiva's temple. He then arrived at Vedavana, where he saw another deity of Lord Shiva, and offered him prayers. Seeing the Shiva deity named Amritalinga, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered his obeisances. Thus he visited all the temples of Lord Shiva and converted devotees of Lord Shiva into Vaishnavas. At Devasthana, Caitanya Mahaprabhu visited the temple of Lord Vishnu, and there he talked with the Vaishnavas in the disciplic succession of Ramanujacharya. These Vaishnavas are known as Sri Vaishnavas. At Kumbhakarna Kapala, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu saw a great lake and then the holy place named Shiva-Kshetra, where a temple of Lord Shiva is located. After visiting the holy place named Shiva-Kshetra, Caitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at Papanasana and there saw the temple of Lord Vishnu. Then he finally reached Sri Ranga Kshetra. After bathing in the river Kaveri, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu saw the temple of Ranganath and offered his ardent prayers and obeisances. Thus he felt himself successful. In the temple of Ranganath, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu chanted and danced in ecstatic love of Godhead. Seeing his performance, everyone was struck with wonder. One Vaishnava, known as Vyankatabhata, then invited Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to his home with great respect. Purport: Sri Vyankatabhata was a Vaishnava Brahmana and an inhabitant of Sri Ranga Kshetra. He belonged to the disciplic succession of Sri Ramanujacharya. Sri Ranga is one of the places of pilgrimage in the province of Tamil Nadu. The inhabitants of that province do not retain the name of Vyankata. It is therefore supposed that Vyankatabhata did not belong to that province, although he may have been residing there for a very long time. Vyankatabhata was in a branch of the Ramanuja Sampradaya, known as Badakala-I. He had a brother in the Ramanuja Sampradaya known as Sripad Prabodhananda Saraswati. As Gopalabhatta Gosvāmī, and he established the Radha Raman temple in Vrindavan. More information about him may be found in a book known as Bhakti Ramakara by Narahari Chakravarti. Sri Vyankatabhata took Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to his home. After he washed the Lord's feet, all the members of his family drank the water. After offering lunch to the Lord, Vyankatabhata submitted that the period of Chaturmasya had already arrived. Vyankatabhata said, "Please be merciful to me and stay at my house during Chaturmasya. Speak about Lord Krishna's pastime and kindly deliver me by your mercy." Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu remained at the house of Vyankatabhata for 4 continuous months. The Lord passed his days in great happiness, enjoying the transcendental mellow of discussing Lord Krishna's pastimes. While there, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu took his bath in the river Kaveri and visited the temple of Sri Ranga. Every day the Lord also danced in ecstasy. The beauty of Lord Chaitanya's body and his ecstatic love of God were witnessed by everyone. Many people used to come to see him, and as soon as they saw him, all their unhappiness and distress vanished. So we stop here for today. Jai, Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Madhya-līlā, chapter 9. Lord Chaitanya's travels to the holy places, ki jai. Jai, Śrīla Kṛṣṇadāsa, Kavirāja, Gosvāmī Maharaj, ki jai. Om Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Vedanta Swāmī Prabhupada ki jai. Then we read from Sermons Volume 1 by Om Vishnupad Śrīla Bhakti Rakshidhadev Gosvāmī Maharaj. And we are at chapter The Success of Faith. We need lasting faith, not flickering faith. Oh, I attempted for some time but I did not find any tangible fruit from Bhakti, so I left. Or, to me, it seemed very, very vague. When I began, I thought this to be something tangible, that I would quickly attain, but it is not so. It is uncertain. I am giving so much energy for the cause, but still the desired result is not achieved. Previous tendencies also draw from the negative side, and so we find that many stalwarts are falling. Still we have to persevere in this journey, and we shall have to take courage from those who are standing and who are deeply engaged. Though it is told hundreds of times that the Absolute is infinite, in the beginning we still tend to take it in a conception of the finite. We are accustomed to think of anything and everything in terms of finite. So, although we hear that it is infinite, it is Vaikunta, it has no limit, we nonetheless cannot grasp the proper meaning. But when we make practical progress, many new conceptions must come to our knowledge. Now, when our Guru Maharaj addressed his disciples as Vipada Udarana Bandhu Kana, my dear friends who have come to deliver me from danger, we should of course recognize such a statement from both the relative and absolute standpoint. Students are a necessary part of the professor. When a professor has students, he feels the practical utility of his life has been successful. Thus, from the relative point of view, disciples can help the Acharya. But from the absolute standpoint, Krishna's will is everything, and the Nitya Siddha, or eternally perfect great souls, who inwardly know the Lord's intentions, cannot be disturbed by any danger in any respect, but outwardly such an appearance may be manifest in their dealings. Mach Chitta, their attention is in me, Mat Gata Prana. Their energy is also spent for my cause. They mutually assist one another. This reminds us of the Napoleonic chair. Once, when stranded in a march, Napoleon arranged that each man sit on the lap of another, in a circular formation. Each automatically protected the other from the otherwise fatal cold, and they could all remain awake to pass the whole night of intolerable cold. Otherwise, his army would have perished. So by mutual help, one devotee is asking questions, another is answering, and they are both getting engagement. The questioner is giving some energy, and the answerer is also energizing. Those of equal standing exchange their thoughts about Krishna, and thereby their blissfulness is generated by mutual understanding and discussion. A kind of nectar arises that nourishes the devotees. One is asking something about me, and another is answering, and thereby that discussion creates a flow of nectar that nourishes both parties. Tushanti cha ramanti cha. Satisfaction is generated from that mutual understanding, and it develops up to ramanti cha, up to the quality of the absolute reciprocation, the wholesale transaction. It rises up to that standard, ramanticha, and again I give them a further installment, an illumination of new light. Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, and they take a new course and are promoted in the suicide squad, that squadron which is eligible for every type of service. That particular type of soldier is competent to fight on the land, in the water, in the sky, or in any circumstances, and he is prepared for any form of fighting, any form of service. I direct them to that section. Yena mam upayanti te. Unconditional service. They are ready for any service demanded of them. They are ready to sacrifice their lives for any form of service. And that particular group is in Vrindavan. I mentioned to Sripad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swāmī Maharaj that in Gita, after Ramanti comes Buddhi Yoga and then Upayanti. According to me, the meaning is that Ramanti or divine service in Madhura Rasa progresses through Buddhi Yoga or Yoga Maya up to Upayanti or the higher plane of service in Vrindavan. Sripad Swāmī Maharaj responded, what more could it mean than this? Hence, Upayanti means Kama Rupa. In this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Śrīla Rupa Gosvāmī has mentioned Sambandha Rupa and Kama Rupa, the two types of Ragatmika Bhakti, or devotion rendered by the eternal associates of the Lord, headed by the residents of Braja. In Sambandha Rupa, the Lord's associates cooperate according to their fixed relative positions of Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya or Madhura, whereas in Kamarupa they come forward to serve any necessity that is demanded of them. They are ready to serve any and every desire of the Absolute. They are like that group of soldiers who have been trained to do any service in the war without being limited to fighting only in a particular division, such as the army, navy or air force. They are prepared for all sorts of service, anywhere. Such is the Kamarupa group. This is Upayantite. They are awarded the instruction Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, by which they can earn such capacity in the service of the Supreme. Krishna is ready to cooperate with the servitors in any position. In Mathura, he gave even Sairindri Kupya the chance to render higher service. Krishna is prepared for anything, and so the other side. His servitors must also be prepared in that way. The high conception of Kamarupa is very, very abstruse. It is most difficult for ordinary mortals to comprehend. I am so indebted to those devotees that whenever they feel the pain of my separation, I cannot tolerate it. I immediately run to cooperate with them in accepting my service. Such is the intensity of the demand I feel from them. In an examination hall, many of us may sit for the examination, yet many are unsuccessful and fall back. But we are not to dwell on them. Rather, we shall try to keep company with the successful candidates. They should be the focus of our attention, and with their help, we shall progress. Progress means selection and elimination, and there is no end of making progress. We must take courage to that extent. Everywhere and in whatever direction we may go, we shall find both successful and unsuccessful candidates. We shall try to avoid the unsuccessful. Some may be brilliant in the primary classes, but in the progressing further, we find that they are proving dull and cannot pass the test. And there may be many who were not very successful in the primary classes, but flourish in higher education. Thus, we should not be discouraged and disappointed on hearing that so many once respected stalwarts are falling away. We should try to feel the actual soil. We need a sincere acquaintance with the soil on which we are moving. It is unintelligible to the fullest extent, but we must spare some energy to cultivate a deeper feeling for where we are, what we want, and where we are going. We must have a deeper feeling for the plane of our objective and achievement. We must not allow ourselves to be captured by the outer charm of things, but we should try to feel and trace the reality is our friend. So we stop here for today. Jai.
That's very nice. What's that book?
Sermons 1 of the Guardian of Devotion from Kṛṣṇadāsa. Very nice. Is the chapter is the success of faith. We started yesterday.
Oh, is that the first? Oh, that's
The second, I think it's.
Is that the first chapter?
It is the first sermons, the light brown one, and this is I think the second chapter.
You've got a mark on it anyway.
Huh?
You've marked it anyway.
Yeah. Chapter 3, the success of faith. Very nice. Jai, sermons of the Guardian of Devotion, ki jai. Śrīla Bhakti Śrīla Gosvāmī Maharaj ki jai. Śrīla Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Gosvāmī Maharaj ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. You want to sing, Prabhu?
Okay. Hare Kṛṣṇadāsa Namaha.
Hare Kṛṣṇadāsa
Hare Jai Om Prishipad Paramahansa Paravarta Kachaya Vaya Asvatar Sata Shrishimad Śrīla Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Gosvāmī Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Prishipad Paramahansa Paravarta Kachaya Vaya Asvatar Sata Shrishimad Śrīla Bhakti Sundar Dev Gosvāmī Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Om Prishipad Paramamsa Parvarta Kachaya Vaya Asvatar Sata Shrishimad Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Jai Shri Rupanuga Guru Varka Ki Jai Namaskar Śrīla Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Shri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Shri Gaur Kishodas Baby Ji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Satchidananda Shri Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai Shri Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai Jai Shri Rupanuga Guru Varka Ki Jai Namaskar Shri Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Baladev Vijabhusana Ki Jai Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Narottam Shamananda Srinivasa Bhattacharya Prabhu Ki Jai Six Gosvamis of Vrindavan Ki Jai Sapachara Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai Sapachara Shriman Mahāprabhu Ki Jai Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Swami Radha Givi Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Lakshmi Viraha Devi Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Vigna Vinashari Shri Nisingare Ki Jai Bhakti Prabhupada Parad Maharaj Ki Jai Ganga Janamarti Ki Jai Grantavai Srimad Bhagavatam Caitanya-caritāmṛta Ki Jai Tosi Maharani Ki Jai Trishri Purukami Ki Jai Vishwa Vaishnava Varsasabha Ki Jai Alkramat Varcha Shri Caitanya Ki Jai Dodiya Sakamat Ki Jai Shri Caitanya Saraswati Ki Jai Vishwa Bhayapi Dodiya Sakamat Ki Jai Shri Dhammayapur Ki Jai Shri Dhanabadvik Ki Jai Vrindavan Purushottam Dham Ki Jai Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Ji Ki Jai Shri Govinda Kunj Ki Jai Shri Sadashiva Ganga Devarajo Ki Jai Samaveta Vaishnava Mandala Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai all the assembled devotees Ki Jai, all the devotees all over the world Ki Jai Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Nisa Jai Goa Premanandi Hari Bol Krishna Caitanya-caritāmṛta.